Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are listening to this, because I know with Australia, they're already in the next day, blowing up the world in the future. Wait, what? Anyway, and then we got the lovely UK people who are probably drinking their coffee or tea or doing something interesting. I mean, the UK people are always lovely people, and you gotta love their accent. And speaking of which, welcome aboard, Tony Sands. Tony, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Well, thank you, Tony, for reaching out. So Tony, to get this thing rolling, out of curiosity, is like, give us an origin story of who you are and how did you get into horror.
Oh man, well, thank you very much. I'd love to argue about your stereotype of the UK, by the way, but I can't because it is literally coffee shop to coffee shop in the high streets here. Lots of tea and coffee, so I can't even argue that. But well, it's not even a stereotype. I suppose they start from somewhere, don't they? Horror. How did I get into horror? I think probably as far back as I can remember. Actually, I love movies. So I mean, I grew up as far back as from when I was a baddie. I loved films, and of course, horror is such a unique genre in that it can tackle so many different subjects within its story and within the film. So you can have a monster, but is the monster, what that monster represents is very unique to the writing. I've always loved films like the Omen, and I think the Omen was a great film. I love the Omen, the original trilogy, even the third one with Sam Neill, who's marvelous actor, but let's face it, it's not the greatest of films. So I think, as far as I can remember, and then I got into, so I always wanted to be an actor. When I was a baby, I wanted to be an actor, and I trained to be an actor, and I was quite fortunate when I was younger. I did some TV shows, and I'd done a couple of films, and then I drifted out. When I was about 19, 20, I drifted out of the whole thing. Never really, I always still loved films, but I never thought I'd be getting back into it. I thought, right, I've had my time in the spotlight, it's time to be out of it. And then I got back in touch with a former acting mentor of mine, and he asked me if I'd ever thought about writing. So I thought, well, no, let's give it a go. So I started writing, and then I started doing an online chat show with people in the horror industry, in the indie scene, like directors and writers and actors. And then I got chatting to one director, a guy called Scott Lyas, and I'd written this script, which at the time was called The Haunting, and we retitled it Echoes of the Past, and we made that together, and that went on a bit of a festival run. It won a Best Short Film at Starburst Film Awards, which is a magazine over here. I don't know if you get it in America. But we won. So we won the best short film there, and I've just done. That's quite a dark paranormal thriller, and then I just done one that's completely the other end of the scale, called Eat Me Out, which is a comedy horror, which I co-wrote with a guy called Damon Ricard, who also directed. That kind of brings me up to date, I think. Went on a bit of a ramble. That was quite a long answer, wasn't it?
Right? No, that's awesome. Yeah, I was just looking at your IMDb at the Echoes of the Past because I'm a very big fan of like the haunted house, found footage, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, like like the real stuff. And I noticed here in the IMDb page of the Echoes of the Past, one of the trivia things is you guys shot this in 3 nights in a real haunted house that actually dates back into the 1500s.
Yeah.
So, so my question is, could you just explain like what type of I guess what's the story of this house, and it dates back into the 1500s. Oh my God! So
yeah, it's a really old house, and it's this beautiful old town that we shot it in. And I can't say where it was because the guy who let us shoot there, he didn't want us to reveal who it was. Yeah, because he didn't want loads of people just saying, "Can we make our film there?" Because it's an amazing house. It is an amazing house. So it's just we just got very lucky where this guy said, "You can come and I think I've got a great location for you." So Scott and I and a couple of others, we went down there to have a look at the house, and it was like as soon as you walk in there, you're like, "This is perfect," because there's just a real vibe about it. And we went in and we looked around, and the guy hadn't even finished furnishing it. So some of the floors were still missing, some of the walls were still missing. The basement, he was converting that into a cinema. Just a big hole in the floor down there. And he was telling us about the history of the house. So there's a scene at the end of the movie, and the movie's available on YouTube, by the way, if anybody wants to check it out. Echoes of the Past. And the scene where we shot the last scene, the room, the house had been owned by two sisters, and one of the sisters, she hung herself in that room.
Holy crap!
So yeah, and like when we shot down there, because obviously short films you make on a very, very tight budget unless you're very fortunate. And most of our money went on accommodation and food for cast and crew. And to save money, Scott, who directed it, Scott and I were going to stay in the house. You know, we thought we'll save money, we'll stay in the house. And I think a couple of the others were going to stay in the house as well. And after the first night shoot, after walking around the day, we're like, no, we're not staying. We're not staying here, man. We're not staying in this house, because we'd shoot through the night, and then so it would have been sleeping during the day. But we're like, we're not staying in this house on our own. No way. So we paid a bit of extra money out of our pockets and stayed in a bar hotel nearby, which was lovely. But the house is amazing. I mean, if you see Echoes, hopefully you'll get an idea of how claustrophobic the house could feel and how haunting it felt. It's not the kind of place you'd want to be on your own at night. Just kind of added to the feel of it. But it was a really good shoot, and it was 3 straight nights. So we were shooting from sundown to sun up. You know, so we'd start shooting at about 6 in the evening, and then we'd be finishing shooting at about 6 in the morning. So by the third night, if you watch please go out and watch the film, because you know it's always nice when people set eyes, whether they like it or not. That's another thing. That's up. You know, it's just nice that people watch your work. You want them to like it, but not everybody's going to like what you do. But by the third night, I was wrecked, man. And I think most people were wrecked. It's like, because you know you're not getting much sleep, especially when you're Scott and I produced it as well. So you're kind of overseeing, you're making sure that everyone's all right. You're trying to get the cast and crew back to their hotels to make sure they get a rest, and then you go and pick them up and you're driving them back. So you're going back, and in between eating, you're not getting much sleep because you're just racing everywhere. But by the last night, if I look, I mean, hopefully I look scared in that film. it's sheer fatigue.
Oh, geez.
If I look terrified, it's only because I'm terrified I'll fall asleep and I can't remember my lines. So I'm looking around trying to remember my lines, which is even worse when you've written the bloody script. Trying to remember the lines you've written. Yeah.
Oh man.
No excuse for forgetting them.
Was there at any point in time when filming Echoes of the Past where you actually heard something or encountered something actually paranormal that wasn't supposed to be in the script, so you kind of rode with it, or did you just or did nothing like that really happen?
No, I'd love to say to you something happened. Maybe I should make it up like they did with The Omen, just say, there's all these stories, and one of our producers, he disappeared in the hedge and never came back.
No,
we don't know. Yeah, no, I should make that up, shouldn't I? No, nothing like that happened. But but there was quite a lot of us around as well. So I mean, we had a cast of 4, and then we had a crew. I think we had a crew of 15. So it was, we had camera and light. We had we had an amazing crew from makeup and camera and lighting and sound. And we had the gaffers. We had an amazing crew who worked really, really, really hard on that film. And I'm really proud of it. I think it was a very personal story to me as well, but they really, I think you can see it on screen what they did, the amount of work and the amount of love that went into that. We didn't just have an amazing location and a beautiful little town in Kent. We had an amazing crew and a really, really solid cast as well. But yeah, we should have spoken this before. I should have created some kind of ghost story, shouldn't I?
Well, I'll throw this out here right now, real quick, Tony. Is we're like 2 months away from October, the spooky time of the year, and this is what we can do. What's planned sometime in October? we'll have you back on, and we can talk about Echoes of the Past just for the seasonal treat.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah. So anyway, you were also mentioning you are the director of a London film festival called the Unrestricted View.
That's
Now,
right. Yeah.
now, did you think of that name, or did you and a couple other people think of Unrestricted, and why was the name Unrestricted View kind of chosen?
It's the Unrestricted View. I didn't actually think of the name. It's a good name, but I can't lay credit to that. The Unrestricted View is the theatre company at a pub called the Hen and Chickens in Islington, North London, on Highbury Corner. People, Londoners, come visit them, and they've been running there for 20 years or something. I'm embarrassed because I just went to their birthday party as well.
Oh no.
That's really bad, isn't it? Sorry, James, Mark, Felicity. Sorry about that. And that's set up by James Wren, Felicity Wren, and I think it's a couple of us. There's a guy called Mark Lyminster, who's another actor. He's the theatre manager down there. And the Unrestricted View, yeah, they're a great theatre company. They have lots and lots of cool shows there, and they have like stand-up comedians, and it's a really, really cool little venue. And they started running a film festival called the Unrestricted View Film Festival, which runs in April. And that's been running for a good few years. And then James started running, and James oversees that, and then James started running the Horror Festival, which runs every October, and I think this is his fourth year. And again, fourth, fifth year. Sorry, James. But he's running that. And then last year, we had Echoes played there about 3 years ago, and that's how I met James. James Rennie runs it, and last year it's an amazing fest. So I used to go along to the other nights anyway because it's a really cool festival, and I go to the April festival as well. And then last year, James and I were talking, and he was going, I was thinking about doing something different, and he had ideas, and we were chatting about things, and I was pitching ideas to him, and he just said to me, well, do you fancy running the festival next year? I'm like, yeah, sure, dude, yeah, that sounds great. So yeah, now I'm running a festival, which is amazing and terrifying and exhausting. So I don't know how James did it because it's. I mean, like James is actually helping me. I don't know how he did it on his own because you get a lot of submissions in, so you're trying to trawl through the submissions, and obviously you want to see everything, and you want to make sure that you give everything the greatest opportunity as well, because as a filmmaker, you understand how hard it is to make a film for next to no money. And the money that it is being spent on it is a lot of that's coming out of your own pocket. So you understand the amount of love and the amount of dedication that goes into making a film. I mean, especially on the indie scene, it's so hard. It's very hard to make a good film. It's very easy to make a film, but it's very hard to make something that's good and that's got heart in it. And that's one of the things you can appreciate when you're going through submissions. Sometimes you see a film that's not quite great, but you can appreciate the amount of love and effort because you can see that's going into it. And that's something that I'd say about the horror audience, that horror fans, they can be very, very forgiving if they know that even if it's not perfect and there's been mistakes made, they're very, very forgiving. I'm sure you feel the same way, that you can forgive it because you know that it's made for the right reasons, if that makes sense.
No,
yeah, does that make sense? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I completely understand what you're saying because I'm actually making my own short horror film, and
Good
I
man.
get a lot of I'm now understanding why people are like, like this was like next to no money. So even though it doesn't seem like it's good, at least I was able to create what I wanted to say, if that makes even any sense too. So like so I completely understand what you're saying right now because I mean ours is not really uh I mean I don't even think we really it's broke $1,000 on this. I think maybe if anything I think it's like close to 500, 600, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough, and like you're pulling in favors all the time. So because I've been through the process of of making an indie movie, you can I can appreciate all the work and appreciate all the sacrifices that are made. And there's some brilliant people on the scene. There's some really, like, from, again, you go back to the crew that give their time, and these are some of them. They're professional. They're professionals, and sometimes they just come and help you out. And others are just trying to break into the professional market, so they can get paid work. And the same with the cast. You get some great actors, and they give their time to come down and contribute to your vision, the vision that's in your head. And that's the worst part of it. That's what makes you feel so guilty, is that when you write it because it's in your head, and then you're putting out, and all these people are working to make your words come alive, and they're giving life to your words and to your vision and to your voice. And I think that's kind of what you were just saying there. That's your voice. And I think when you can hear someone's voice on the screen, you can appreciate that. And even if it's not the best piece of work, you can appreciate that. And there's something about it that makes it work, because you can hear their voice, and you know that heart, and you know that the soul's gone into it. Whereas sometimes you get filmmakers who've just gone out to make a film and they've done nothing, and it's not very good, because you can see there's no heart in it. They've just done it because they think, let's get ourselves something to do in it, and it doesn't work, and it falls apart. But that's the toughest part about the festival, is finding a mix of voices, because, and again, horror is one of the greatest film markets for and literary markets for voices. It's a great way of expressing a voice, and you don't have to necessarily talk about the subject or about your pain. You can talk about it in a really beautiful, or you can, well, not a beautiful way, you can talk about it in a very dark way, but you can talk about it in a very kind of creative way. So you can have, like, Frankenstein's monster, and that can refer to so many different things. It's not necessarily just a monster. It's about politics, or it's about science, or it's about life, and it's about death, and it's about this, and that is one of the main amazing things. One of the great things about the horror genre, is that there's so many different stories to be told from it, and it's such a great way of expressing your voice and not being afraid to speak, not being afraid to use your voice to speak up. It's a really, really great way of talking. And I think that's one of the best things about being director of the festival, is looking, exploring all these different, hearing all these different voices, seeing all these different visions, and maybe not necessarily understanding a certain film, but then one of our other judges, they'll view it and they'll say, I really liked that, and I really liked it for this reason, which means, okay, well, let's put it in. That's great. But you liked it. I'm glad you liked it, and I understand why you liked it. Because you want to mix, you want to hear all these different voices and see all these different stories, and it's going to be an exciting festival. It's been an exciting festival for the last few years. I feel like I'm meandering off the festival, but it's been a great festival the last few years, which is why I was so excited to be involved. I was thrilled when James asked me, because it's a very, very cool venue. It's a very, very cool area, and horror is such amazing filmmakers and storytellers within that area, within that film market, and it's such an amazing thing to be involved with. So I'm very excited. Come the end of October, anybody in London, North London, please come along, come and visit us. And if you're not in London, even if you don't live in London, come to London the end of October. Come visit the Unrestricted View Horror Film Festival. Was that an amazing pitch? Did I meander on there? Sorry.
No, that was great. That was great. Awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, from what I'm seeing of last year's list, I believe, like, I noticed you got, like, Book of Monsters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tokyo, South African Spook Hunter. Geez.
That's right. Yeah, with Matt. Yeah. We had a real mix. We had an amazing mix of films, and we're lucky. We're very, very lucky that every year we've had a good selection of films, which is what you want. You want that. You want stuff that's really, really dark and disturbing. You want stuff that can make you laugh and scare you at the same time, which was South African Spook Hunter. That's a very cool little film if nobody's seen it. But I mean, the list of films you just named, there's some great actors and some great talent behind those films.
Yes. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just looking at this beautiful list that you guys have, like, organized for, like, best everything pretty much. Like, and not everything has to be serious, as you were just kind of, I think, saying. That's why like we got those awesome comedy horrors mixed with the foreign, disturbing, serious stuff. Where it's always good to kind of mellow out to something that's kind of funny. That
Well, yeah, I
way,
mean, The Evil Dead. That's a classic example of funny and scary.
exactly, yeah,
And I think you need it. And I think it's such a great genre for that. It's such a broad spectrum. Horror covers such a broad range of films, and things can slip into horror. It can be a horror, a ghost story, or it can be. I mean, like Echoes of the Past is a character piece, but it's a horror. It's a haunted house film. And the last short I just did, Eat Me Out, that's a comedy. That's pretty. It's just basic comedy. I can't even say it's a comedy horror, but it's more comedy. There's not. Don't go into it thinking you're going to get scared, unless you're scared of my jokes, in which case you could be terrified. But yeah. But I think it's such an amazing thing, and it offers you the opportunity to explore different aspects of your own personality. So whereas Echoes it's quite a dark piece, and it came from a dark place when I wrote it. And Scott, the director, he immediately understood what I was. He understood my voice. There we go. We'll go back to the voice. He could hear my voice, and he understood what I was trying to say. And then with Eat Me Out, it was completely different end of the spectrum. It came from Damon, is a director that I've known for a little while. He's got a lot of successful short films that won awards and played all around the world. And like we were sitting chatting, and I said to him, "Look, I've got this idea. I don't really know what to do with it. What do you think?" And we sat and we were just giggling and laughing with each other for about an hour as we were throwing out ideas. And I think we were giggling and laughing all the way through the writing process. And then we were giggling, and then we had a great shoot as well. We had a really, really, again, good cast, very good crew, very good cast, and that was lots and lots of fun to make. It was a really good experience, and hopefully it's a really good experience to watch it as well. I think it is. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. But that is completely different. Like I wanted to do something that was fun. I grew up loving Laurel and Hardy. They made me laugh. They made me feel good. And I think as a kid, I used to watch that and think, I want to make people feel the way they make me feel. So, the chance to kind of have a go at making a comedy, it seemed like a really nice avenue to take. And Damon had never made a comedy before. And he gave it, he thought, why not? Let's try it. Let's see how that goes. So that's led to that. And hopefully we get into festivals with that. That's going to be tricky because we're not quite horror and we're not, we're quite, I don't think we're kind of we're not sophisticated comedy. Hopefully we play at a few festivals on that one as well. How did I get onto that? Did I just branch off into something else? Sorry, I go off on tangents sometimes.
No,
sorry about that, Paul.
That was a nice little segue, actually. So, if anything, what is Eat Me Out actually supposed to be about?
Right, so Eat Me Out. Over here in the UK, we have a TV show called Come Dine With Me, in which individuals go to each other's house over a week. They each go to each other's house and provide a 3-course meal. And then the other guests, they rate it. And at the end of the week, the guest that got the host that has the highest amount of points, they win £1,000. So Eat Me Out is it's a reality. It's based on a reality show. Well, the concept is that it's a reality show called Eat Me Out of House and Home, and it's 3 couples, and they go around to each other's house and they award points. They each provide, each couple provides a meal for a night, and the other couples rate it. And then at the end of the night, at the end of that week, the person with the highest points gets the prize, whatever the prize is. We never reveal. You might, the prize will have to lay in your head. But yeah, so that's the idea. Eat Me Out Eat Me Out of House and Home is a reality show, and this is one episode from that reality show. Eat Me Out is an episode. Yeah. That's a very, very long way around of just saying it's a reality show. This is an episode. I should have just said that, shouldn't I? I should have just gone straight in with that instead of going all around the houses. But there you go. too late now, isn't it? It's too late. I can't take it back. I've done it. That's it. It's done. It's said. It's a really long way.
All good. It's all good. So how long did Eat Me Out take to film? Because I mean, it looked like from IMDb, it looked like the last thing that I'm seeing that was updated anyway was that you guys were mentioning you were in post production last year of the 27th of
Okay.
November.
Yeah. So we shot that in 2 days. In I think it was out in Kingston in England. I think it was out that way. I can't remember. It was, we borrowed a friend's house.
Hey,
And
that's the best way to do it.
isn't it? He's a great, really lovely guy. And he's a filmmaker himself, and then he shot a short film the following weekend at his own house as well. So it was like a film studio for 2 weekends. So we shot for 2 days, and it went. I mean, like very organised. Damon and Chris Niles, who produced it, and Annette. Ricard, Damon's wife, everybody was just so involved and so on the ball, and they got, they made sure that it went smoothly, and it did. It was a really good shoot. The cast were on the ball, including me. I was in it. The cast were very, very on the ball, very professional, very brushed up, not just on their lines but in their characters. They played it to perfection. And you get when you've got a great crew, it goes really, really smoothly. Everybody's helping each other out, and that's the only way it works. And that's the way it should be within the whole industry. Everybody helps each other out and gets involved and makes it run as smoothly as possible, because it's a team effort, it's a team job, and if you're not working within the team, then you're not going to get anywhere. And if you do get anywhere, then what's the point? Nobody's going to like you when you get there. It's a team effort, and when your team comes together, I think it generally comes across on screen, and everybody walks away happy. Everybody walks away with, because you want one. If the actors are working for next to nothing, and we did pay them, but I mean, if they're working for next, for a low rate, you want them to walk away with something that's solid, that they can use to help them in their career. And it's exactly the same for the crew. You want them to be able to say, look, I did this film, look how great it is, I was part of that. So you want everybody to walk away with a calling card or something that they can add to their CV and to their credits, that will help, that will enable them to get more work. But and you want to make a good film. Ultimately, you want to make something that's really, really entertaining and really, really good. But that was 2 days, yeah, and that went quite smooth actually. That finished quite. I think the first night we had to squeeze something right in at the end, and then the second day it went so well. I think we were a little bit ahead of schedule then. It was good. That was a good shoot. I mean, I've been very fortunate that I've worked with some good people.
Very nice. Now, were there any type of difficulties at all filming Eat Me Out or whatever?
I know, it's a great title, isn't it? That amused the hell out of us. You know what? No, not really. I think it was. Again, we were very lucky. We had, well, no, not even lucky. I think Damon managed to put together a very good crew, and he managed to get some good cast. We had, I knew a couple of the cast. Well, actually, I knew most of the cast, but so Mac I'd worked with on Echoes and on the previous project. I'd known him for a long time. He's a stand-up comedian, a really, really lovely guy. And I thought when we started talking about, when Damon and I started talking about how we were going to approach the idea, one of the people I had in mind was Mac. So I was writing a character with Mac in mind, and then Damon had, know Mac. So again, you can write to that character. You can write to that actor, because you can write, you know what they can play, and you know what they can pull off, and you know what their strengths are, and you can home in on that. And then we had Tom, who Damon had worked with on a few of his films, and we wrote a piece that's completely different to what he's done before, or to what we've seen, what he's done before with Damon at least. And Elena is a friend of another actress that I'd worked with on Echoes, and we just kind of came across, and then we were talking, and I said to Damon, like, I think this girl would be great. And so Damon and Elena and I, we all met up, and Damon goes, yeah, we've got to have her. And then Sarah and Kat, they came in, and they were just brilliant. We've got a really good cast. Again, hopefully it will play at a film festival near you. Look out for it. I don't think you can forget that title, can you? Eat Me Out. It's it might be the best part of the film.
Right?
We've got an amazing poster as well. A guy called Chris Barnes, who runs Brutal Posters. Check him out on Twitter at Brutal Posters. He is an amazing designer, and he designed a poster for us. And our poster's brilliant. I love our poster.
Yeah.
And we got a trailer. We got a trailer out there as well.
Oh, you got a trailer. I got
We got a trailer. I'll send you the link. But yeah, so we didn't know. We ran really smooth, and I think it's especially when you're working on such a tight shoot, it's very important that you've got a good cast and crew. It's very, very important that you've got people. One, you've got to enjoy the experience as much as you can, but that becomes more enjoyable when you've got people you can rely on and people that you know are going to deliver. And every single person delivered.
I know
on that. Yeah, it's tough. It's really it's tough. It can be very hard. If someone lets you down, you're absolutely screwed. And you all have to pitch in. Like you find actors picking up other actors or crew or dropping them home and bring them in and like to set. And it's you all have to pitch in. Everybody has to help everybody out. Otherwise, it's not going to happen, or it's not going to happen well. So you've got to put what you can in, and it's 2 days, and it's 2 long days. But when you get a satisfying result, it's well worth it. It's worth it, and I think that we've got something that's very different, and I personally think we've got something that's an awful lot of fun. Although Damon keeps claiming that he wrote all the funny lines, I can't even argue. I don't even know. I can't even remember what I wrote. I remember one bit that I've written, but I can't remember the other stuff. So Damon might well have written all the good gags. I can't remember. Damon claims that all the funny stuff is his. But as long as people laugh, then I'm happy for him to take the credit. If people enjoy it, I'm more than happy for them to take the credit for it. Yeah, I thought the title. I'm taking the credit for the title. The title was mine, but
well, there's more to the title too, because we got "Eat Me Out," and then in parentheses we got "Of House and Home."
That's right. Yeah. So the idea is that the name of the actual show is "Eat Me Out of House and Home," but "Eat Me Out" such a catchy title.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it kind of slips off the tongue, doesn't it?
It's kind of well. When I first read it, I was like, "What the hell?" And then I studied the poster. I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "What the hell am I getting myself into here?"
Yeah, that's all right. There's nothing naughty in it. The title's about as naughty as it gets.
We're talking about something just comical, not what everybody else is probably thinking right now.
No, not at all. It's a comedy. It's just a fun comedy. All the swearing's being beeped out and everything. It's fine. It's a good, fun little film, and I think I'd like to think that people will enjoy it when they watch it, as soon as they get the chance to watch it.
I think they will. It looks like it's going to be a fun thing. And speaking of people being able to watch it, I know you were talking about the film festival route, but how long do you think Eat Me Out will be on the film festival route before other people will have a chance to see it?
Well, probably about a year. A year's usually about long enough that you try and get into festivals. After that, then you're kind of done. Nobody wants you. Either they've had you, or they don't want you anymore, or they didn't want you in the first place. So it'll probably run for about a year. I'd say just follow us on social media if you can. You can find me at Tony Sands. Sorry, on Twitter or Facebook, you can find us. So Radar Pictures is Damon's, and he's also Demodal Node, or Damon Ricard. You'll find him on Twitter, I'm sure. And I'm Tony Sands on Twitter. So you should be able to find me. But yeah, if you follow us around, and I think, is there an Eat Me Out Twitter page? Eat Me Out's on Facebook. If you go on Facebook, Eat Me Out, there's an Eat Me Out page. So you can find Eat Me Out on Facebook. So join us, please join us.
The Eat Me Out community.
Join the Eat Me Out community. Join us and enjoy us.
Nice.
I would say it's a very tasty page, but that might be a little bit crude.
That might be pushing it a little bit, but I don't know.
Yeah, let's not say that then.
Yeah,
let's not go there.
Well, I mean, I guess if there's dessert involved, I mean, I guess we could go there. But I mean, whatever.
Now, lots of juiciness.
Now, was there anything at all while either writing, Eat Me Out, or even shooting it where you now kind of say, like, oh, I wish I did more with this or took this out? Was there anything that you kind of wish that you could go
I,
back and fix?
yeah, that's a good question. I think with anything that you do you'll always wish you'd done a little bit more. You know, it's the George Lucas thing, isn't it? He just can't stop going. He couldn't stop going back to Star Wars until Disney bought it off him and just said, "Leave it alone, George. Leave it alone. Stop fucking around with Star Wars. You bollocks that up." You know, you always, as a writer, you always kind of like. I think as a filmmaker, as an actor, as any kind of artist, I'm sure that everybody looks back and thinks, "Oh, I wish I'd done that differently. Or I wish I'd pushed that a little bit more. I wish I'd done this, or I wish I'd done that." But you can't look back on something once it's done. It's done. But yeah, I think you always think, oh, I thought of another gag, or I thought of another joke, or I thought of this. Oh, that would have been great if we'd put that in. Or I thought, you know, you'll never stop picking holes. But it's done. You've got to look back and think, right, I've done it now. It's what it is. That was how I was speaking at that time, and how it's perfectly preserved, and hopefully people will enjoy it. But yeah, I think there's always an element of you looking back thinking, oh, we missed a really good idea, especially with Eat Me Out. You're looking back and thinking, oh, we missed a good idea for a joke there, or we could have played that, or we could have done that. But then the film might have been 25 minutes long rather than the 14 minutes that it is, and that's pushing it. You know, for a short film, you want the short film to be under 15 minutes ideally, or 10 minutes is really the ideal length that you'd be looking at for a short film if you can. And I think that, you know, we cut. I mean, Damon cut a lot out. Poor Damon was getting lambasted when he was editing Eat Me Out. I was saying, "Oh, I don't want to lose that bit. Or I do, you know, oh, we can't. We've got to cut this bit out. We've got to lose." And the bits we cut out, we cut out stuff that was good. You know, we were losing some good gags. And the same with Echoes of the Past. We lost about 6 minutes of that film, cutting it down. And there was really good stuff in there, really good stuff. And you know, but it just had to go because we needed to get the film down to a length that would be more palatable for a film festival scheduler as well. You know, because they want to compact as many short films in as possible. If you've got a 20-minute film, it's a little bit more difficult to accommodate. And so with Eat Me Out, Paul Damon had that tough task then of bringing that down in length and making something that was more desirable to a film festival lengthwise. So we lost a good few minutes in that, and I think that was probably the toughest bit. Is when you like a scene or you like a line, you think, I don't want to lose that. I really like that. Even a look, you know, you might just have a look and you think we've got to lose that because we've got to cut it down and we've got to get, you know, and it doesn't necessarily work with the rest of what's around it. So yeah, I mean, and there was a couple of bits. There was a couple of bits that I argued for that I was happy we kept. And there was a couple of bits that Damon argued for, and I wasn't too sure about. There was one, I won't even say what it is, but there was one bit in particular I wasn't too sure would work. And Damon put it together. He said, "Well, look, let me try it," and he did it, and it worked really, really well. And in fact, it's probably gets all the best laughs. So Damon didn't get the best laughs there. He was absolutely spot on. So sorry, Dame. Sorry, mate. He was spot on. But I think, you know, but again, that's quite a nice process as well. And even then, when you're not necessarily, and it wasn't disagreeing, but you're not necessarily seeing what the other person sees. It was quite a nice. It was quite a nice process as well, because I never once did I hope Damon never felt like I was challenging, but I never felt like he was challenging. And I think, you know, you got to that point where you're like, okay, I trust you in this, and I trust you in that. And it was even then, because you both want to make the best film. You both want it to be the funniest it can be. You both want it to be amazing. So you know that you're coming at it from the right aspect. We never had a fight or a duel or anything. We didn't like draw daggers or guns at dawn or anything like that. It was all quite nice and friendly, I hope, anyway. And yeah, but yeah, there's always, going back to your question, there's always stuff you're going to want to change. There's always stuff you're going to want to add, but in the end, it's done. So you can't look back and think, it's done. You know, if you feel you didn't add enough to it, then you take that onto your next project, and the next thing you're writing, you think, right, I know I want to put a gag in here, and I want to put a gag in there, and I want that gag to build. And I think we had lots and lots of nice gags that built. I'm very, very happy with Eat Me Out. I'm not going to say it just because I want people to watch it. I think if I'd done something I wasn't happy with, I think I'd say, But I'm really, really happy with emo, as we like to call it. I think it's a really nice piece. I think it's quite unique. I think it's quite distinctive in the market, and I think that people will enjoy it. I'm really, really happy with it. I laugh at it, which is probably not good because I wrote it. I co-wrote it, so I'm in the end I'm just laughing at stuff that me and Damon wrote. But it's quite nice. It's nice, and the thing is, when if you step away from when we stepped away from it for a little bit, and then you watch it, and the stuff that you forget, and then it's played, and also the stuff that I hadn't seen filmed because I wasn't in every scene, and the stuff that I hadn't seen filmed. So when I was watching the cut, there was stuff that I hadn't seen, and it was making me laugh, and that's a really good feeling because one, you shouldn't be laughing at your own jokes anyway, but it's a really nice feeling when you've seen that these performances and the delivery of those performances are making you laugh because that's what they're supposed to do. That's their purpose. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I wouldn't go back and necessarily change it. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I'm delighted with how it turned out.
Nice. Now, what I'm trying to figure out what I was just trying to say here. All right, let's just go with when writing Eat Me Out. Was there any type of inspiration coming to you that made you want to write it, or was it kind of like an original idea per se, like this would be kind of clever without really any sort of inspiration?
I think my inspiration for comedy was always Laurel and Hardy, and I love Laurel and Hardy. I love the guy called Norman Wisdom, who was an English comedy actor. I really liked him and his style. But I think Laurel and Hardy, always go back to Laurel and Hardy because they were such an amazing comedic duo, and their writing and their performances were incredible. I mean, they're incredible, and it wasn't just about making people laugh, but it was also about love and their brotherhood and their friendship, their bond, and the fact that there was no straight man in Laurel and Hardy, even though Ollie thought he was a straight man. He wasn't a straight man, and that was part of the joke. And when they were at their peak, there was nobody can match them in my eyes. I think they were just an incredible comedy. They're an incredible example of comedy writing and performance. They were absolutely brilliant. So I think that's always in my head somewhere because that's what inspired me. That's what I loved. What made me love about comedy and film was Laurel and Hardy. So I think that's pretty comes across in my writing sometimes. When I'm writing it, I might have Stan or I might have Ollie in there. But what went down, what went down, talking about Eat Me Out, what went down. Sorry, doubling Tawandrous. We had, what it was, we kind of sat down, what went down? How did it go down? Let me tell you how it went down. We spoke, Damon and I spoke that night. We had another meeting actually because we do a comedy quiz called What's the Bloody Question, which is a panel quiz, and we do that. We do live shows with that. There's a couple of shows up on YouTube, and that's I compare it. Damon helps out with that. Kind of does the gadgets and the points and pitches in. And we got 2 teams of 3 with 2 regular captains, which is Chris Niles and Kate Danbury. So we got that, and then we had a meeting about that. And then after, I said to Damon, hang around after the meeting because I've got this idea. I talked to him about emo. I said, I've got this idea for a title. I've got this idea for, I've had it for ages, and I had it for ages and ages and ages, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I said, it's a reality show, and it's, I'm not quite sure how we do it. And Damon said, well, I think maybe we should do it. I said, maybe we should do it as a comedy. Damon had an idea, then I had an idea, and we literally sat there for about an hour, and we'd come out of a story. And we'd come out with some ideas for characters and a few jokes and gags. So I said, well, look, I'll go away. I'll write the skeleton of it. I'll write the structure of it. Because we'd already had an idea of where we wanted to go, how we wanted to start, how we wanted to end. And then I said, I'll write it. And what I'll do is any ideas I've got for scenes, I'll write a scene in, and then I'll leave spaces. And then, you write that scene in. And so what we did was I started it. I wrote a structure. I wrote a few scenes in. I wrote some ideas of what I think might happen in this or this. And then I sent it to Damon. Damon wrote a few scenes in, put some ideas and notes on my scenes. Then I did the same on his, and that went back and forward. So we were collaborating like that. I'd write stuff, he'd write stuff, and then we had, we started getting a complete script. And then it's like, should we put this in? What about a gag here? What about this joke that you've put here? It's really good, but can we take it a little bit further? And that was like, each of us were pitching in ideas, which was, and it was, it was a really nice process. I'd never done that before. I'd never written like that before. So it was a nice process to go through. And again, Damon's a really nice guy, and it was a real pleasure working with him. And I think literally we've been making each other laugh by sending the script back and forward. And we put, Damon would have an idea for a gag, I'd have an idea for a gag, and like we changed stuff. And it was a really, really fun process. And by the end of it, we had Eat Me Out, and then you're hoping everybody will like it, you'll send it to people, and will they like it? And Damon was unnecessarily worried, because he'd never done comedy. He was unnecessarily worried that people wouldn't get it. And I think he'd done a really good job on the writing side of it and the directing side of it. Eventually, he was brilliant on set working with him. So yeah, and that's how that came about. So I don't know we were necessarily thinking who's inspiring us. I think there was a couple of gags that we took out because we were worried that people who weren't familiar with, say, 70s horror, they might not get that joke. So there was stuff that we took out. So a lot of it was influenced by our love of film. Probably that was probably our inspiration, just our love of film in general. That's what influenced it. And then knowing the concept of the reality show, which it's spoofing. And we also, there's also some kind of like political messages in there, and that you don't have to get, but they're kind of in there, the egos and power, and there's stuff in there that's underlying, but nothing that we wanted overtly to express. But it was mostly, we just wanted to make a film that was going to entertain people, and to do that we made a film that entertained us. We wrote a script that entertained us, and that's all you can do if you're going to write what you want to see, write what you want to hear, write with your voice. Going back to the voice, write with your voice, and if you do it right, then someone's going to appreciate that.
There you go. Yeah, I can't express how much I agree with what you just said right there. So yeah, that's so true. Just write with your voice, and you know what? You may have a few people that don't like it, but you know what? At the end of the day, you're gonna have other people that enjoy what you're trying to present to them, rather than, I don't know. I mean, it's just like we always say, you can't please everybody, so you
can't.
Just make what you want to make and just see what happens from there. So whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's a life lesson as well. I think in life, if you're comfortable with who you are, and you know that you're a good person, and you do the right things, then that's all that matters. You can't be worrying what other people think of you. There are going to be people in life who don't like you. Idiots, of course. But there are, even me, people don't like me. I know it sounds weird, crazy, but they don't. Some people, there are going to be some people that you come across in life that do not like you for one reason or another. That's their issue. That is not your issue. That is for them to deal with. You don't have to talk to people like that. You don't have to do anything to impress those people. Let those people live their lives. You carry on with your own, and you've got to live life for yourself. You've got to do the things that you like, and you've got to make the choices that are right for you. You've got to make the decisions that are right for you. You look after the people that you care about. That's what it goes down to. You can't spend your life worrying about making people who don't like you like you. You can't be worrying about why they don't like you. That's their business. And it's the same when you're expressing your voice on film, or you're writing, or your songs, or your music, whatever art form you do. You put your voice out there. You put your heart into that. Fuck everyone else. Don't worry what they think. If you do something that you like, if you do something that you love, then you've done it right.
That's right. And just for the record, if anybody needs a psychiatrist, Tony here is the man to go to.
I'm very good rates as well.
Yeah. Well, you can come to me, but I think I have almost the same attitude as Tony too. But I might just be like, well, just fuck them too. I mean, cut them out of your life. Get that negativity out of your life.
You don't need them, man. Surround yourself with good people, and you'll feel like a good person.
Exactly. And then you know what? Then all your hopes and dreams will come true once you get rid of all those assholes that don't believe in you and what you're trying to put out there as a message or art form, or really, like he just said, whether it be music, art, painting, whatever, filming, writing, whatever. Just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the best way to live your life.
Exactly. And speaking of like writing and stuff, Tony, you got some upcoming stuff, don't you? What can you share with us for your upcoming projects?
Right. So, oh gosh. Well, again, the the end of the scale that we work at in the area we work, indie film, it's always the hardest bit of getting the money and getting it made. I was doing I almost had a short film go with a guy called David Shardwell, who is another amazing filmmaker, brilliant guy, really talented and a lovely bloke. So we were doing a film. We were due to go in July, and 2 days before 2 days before we started getting plans into place, we were going to shoot a campaign video to do some crowdfunding for post production, which is all we needed. We were only going to ask for about. We weren't looking for too much. We were looking for about £2,000, which would help during production to help pay for accommodation and feed cast and crew, because apparently we need to feed people.
That
And yeah, it's apparently so people are so fussy. Food and drink, come on. So
not to interrupt you real quick, Tony,
yeah,
but you just mentioned crowdfunding. Is that Kickstarter or Indiegogo?
Kickstarter, Indiegogo. So I think we were going to go through Kickstarter. So
Okay.
we were going to do a Kickstarter campaign, and we were just going to raise money for some accommodation and food and drink, and then if we could get a little bit more, we would have put that into post. But we had a studio, we had everything, we had a crew coming together, and we had people that we had cast, and we just, I think it was the day before we were going to shoot a crowdfunder, and it got pulled, and it's gutting because it's a really good script. Again, it's a comedy horror, or more of a horror comedy, so it's more horror. And we were just a couple of days, one day away from crowdfunding video, and we had a really good crowdfunding video script as well. We were going to do a really good crowdfunding video. I think we've done a great crowdfunding video for Emo, if anybody can check that out. But yeah, so we were a day away from shooting the crowdfunder, and it got pulled because somebody felt the script was a bit controversial. And I don't think it's an offensive script, but someone took offence to it, and that one person railroaded us. It knocked us out. So we'd like to get back and doing that at the moment, but it's going to be quite a costly one. That will cost. I think that we estimate that will cost us about 15,000, due to the nature of the script and the location and some of the effects we might need. So that's a real bummer, because that would have been a really good. That's a really good script. I think David. I mean, I wrote the original. Then David came on and he threw loads and loads of ideas in, and we kind of expanded it and built on some of the storyline and some of the jokes, and it's a really good script. And I can understand why the person was concerned about the piece that they found controversial and offensive, but they also missed the point of that. They missed the point of the script. It's not offensive. It's about people who cause offence, and it's about those that are offended, and it's about what you're offended by.
You brought up an interesting point. Sorry to cut you off.
That's okay.
With my train of thought here is, so we already know that 2019, 2018 kind of seen the beginning of the, I would say, the pussy era, because, everybody is getting offended of something. And do you feel like, as you were just kind of just saying, do you feel sometimes trying to write a specific joke or specific scene, or really anything when it comes to writing anymore, feels like, do you ask yourself sometimes, like, man, is this gonna offend somebody, or do you just don't care and just write it anyway? Like, have you thought of that though? The way the years have changed now.
That's a very good question. I do think there are a lot of people who sit around on social media just looking for something to be offended by, and they're not necessarily offended by it. They just feel like we should be really offended by it. Somebody mentioned cloud. It's not a cloud. It's clouds. It's clouds. There's more than one. How dare they talk about a single cloud? What disgusting people with their racist monotones and nebula. Come on, people are sick in their head. We've got, but yeah, that's kind of the point. Is the point of the script that David and I were working on. There is a character in there, and he has a monologue, which and again, it's that thing. David and I wrote it. I mean, I wrote the original one, and then David said, "I think you can do more with this. I think you can do more with this." So I went up to his house and we sat down, and we expanded on this monologue, and we were laughing as we were writing it. But at the end of the script, David turned to me and he said, Tony, we're two heterosexual white males. we might be at risk of causing offence. And I'm like, but we're not. It's the character. The character says something that could be considered offensive, but he's aware of that, and it's what escalates after that, and it's how that character's treated and how that character's related to. So, we kind of the reason we wanted to write it was to kind of tackle things like that and to approach the snowflakes, and talk about it without really talking about it. So we didn't write something offensive. We wrote something about offence, about the way people take offence and about the way it's construed now. So you say something, and this is kind of what that monologue. It's exactly what that monologue is about. It's about saying something and thinking, "Oh shit, have I just offended somebody? Oops, did I say something that somebody could possibly be offended by?" And that's what it's about. So it's not about being offensive. It's about how people perceive something you say, because people are, like you said, people are always ready to jump on something now. Absolutely anything people will jump on, and they'll hammer them. And it's like this minority of people that absolutely go, hammers and tongs. They can ruin people and destroy people for absolutely no reason, and they don't even know why they're doing it half the time. It just seems like they don't understand what they're talking about. Most of these people, they don't understand what the point of their argument is. It just feels like let's take issue with this and let's run at them and bombard them and make them miserable. And it's a really, that's one of the downfalls. One of the negatives about social media is that it gives stupid people a voice. And you educate yourself or learn what you're talking about before you go at people. If you're going to raise issue, then have an understanding of that issue. And that's not to say that people aren't being offensive, and that's not to say that racism or sexism or homophobia or Islamophobia or any kind of anything like that. Nothing like that should be tolerated. Hatred shouldn't be tolerated, but hatred for the sake of hatred shouldn't be.
No, that's right. And I don't know if you came across it like I have on social media, but have you seen those comments where they haven't read the article, but they assume they've read the article?
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. They just jump on board. They don't even know what they're arguing about. They're just like, I want to be offended, and I'm going to be offended by this because right now it's top of the trending list on Twitter. I'm outraged. I don't know why I'm outraged, but I'm thoroughly outraged, and I'm going to vent my outrage on Twitter right now, and I'm going to aim it at Derek because Derek said something I don't agree with. I'm not quite sure why I don't agree with it, but I really don't like the way Derek said it. So I'm going to and I'm going to get my friends to bombard Derek. I don't know who Derek is, by the way. Poor Derek. But so they just go after this guy because they don't agree with it. And you just think you haven't. And like you said, they don't even read it, and it shows. Their ignorance shows in that. But the problem is that they're the ones that shout the loudest, aren't they? They're the ones who shout the strongest and the loudest, and they absolutely, and they're shouting because they put it in block capitals with exclamation marks. They just bombard these people. They go full on, and it's such a sad state of affairs, isn't it? That social media is giving, and let's face it, there are some people in certain positions of power in certain countries who do pretty similar and cause all sorts of problems because they're ignorantly throwing stuff out there that they don't understand, that they haven't read about, and they're causing problems for people. They're destroying people's lives because they're talking about stuff that they don't get.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's just, I don't know, it's just a sad world. You just can't go on without somebody complaining about something, and it's just,
It's messed up, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, let's see here.
Sorry, man, I feel like we talked about lots already.
I know, I was just gonna say, did I miss anything?
I don't think you. No, yeah, sorry. So that was the script. We'll go back to that one. So that script, that hopefully we'll still get that made. that's called Less Than More, is it? Or More Than Loss? More Than Less? Something like that. I can't remember. We keep changing the title around, but that's set on a moors. It's like a creature on a moors thing. I've written a couple of short ideas that one I think could work as a feature. I really want to work with the team that we did Emo with. I'd really like to work with that team again. So I've got a couple of ideas for that. Again, that's money, and both of the ideas will cost a bit of money to do. And I've got an idea for a play. I've actually scripted the play, so I've got the first draft of a play. That's, I don't know if it's kind of horror and it's kind of drama, it's kind of thriller. So I don't know what quite. It's a mix of everything, and a bit of fantasy in there, and psychology in there as well. So that's talking about. I don't really want to say what that's about because I can't really describe it properly without giving. I don't want to give too much away, and I don't know how I describe it without. But it's a bit. I think it's a really, really good idea. I have an idea what actors I want to use in it, and I have an idea of what I want to do a read through. So I might do a read through of that in September, and see how that plays out because that's only a really. I think it will need a bit of work, but I want to hear it before I start going back and deciding what I lose and what I add. So got that one. So I've got that, and a couple of other. There's a feature script I'm working on that I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with that. But yeah, there's little bits and pieces. There's always something that kind of pops up, and you think, it's like we were talking before we started recording that. You always end up with more than you need. Really, you think, just kind of chill out for a little bit, and then you think, I've got an idea for this. And someone asked me to do this, and go to this. This is great. And before you know it, you've got like a dozen projects you're handling and dealing with, and trying to fit in and trying to squeeze in. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? Where am I going? Was I going to the shop? I don't know anymore.
Or the best part is the stuff that you can't use, you can just use for something else.
There is, you do, you take bits out. There's, you get a good bit of dialogue and you cut it and you think, right, I'll just put that in my next script. We can't use that joke here, but I'll put it in somewhere else. We'll find something for it. I had an idea for a script based on a joke the other day. Just had an idea for a joke and I thought, right, a script based around that. I don't know what the rest of the script's going to turn out like, but
And the name of it is going to be called The Unused Jokes.
The unused jokes, yeah. We'll call it huge because we'll just break it all down. Yeah, so there's a couple of things. I mean, there's always ideas that pop around, and I want to, you want to get in as much as possible.
Right,
but it's getting writing it. Writing it isn't necessarily the hardest bit because I find when I get onto a role, I can write quite quickly. I'm not saying it turns out great, but when I get onto a role, I can write quite quickly. Because it's all there. Once I start hearing all those voices and I get an idea of the characters, I don't even know what the ending is half the time, or most of the time. But I find that I get into a flow and I can write very quickly. So that's not the hardest bit. The hardest bit is getting it made. The hardest bit is getting it made well. That's the hardest bit. Making something good. Making something in a good way. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Speaking of the hardest thing that you were kind of getting into, what was the hardest thing so far that you've had to have written?
There's a feature script I'm working on. I'm finding that because that's not necessarily, that was somebody else's concept, somebody else's idea, and although I can hear what they're saying, I can completely get it. That I've found that I find more of a struggle to write because it's not necessarily writing. I'm writing for me as well. I'm writing, characters that I like, and I've given them dialogue that I like, but I'm kind of writing to it with an aim. I'm writing to an end game. There's an end game, and I have to hit this end game. Whereas normally when I'm writing, I don't always have an idea for an ending necessarily, or that ending's quite fluid. The ending can change. So I don't know. I don't always know whether my characters are going to make it to the end of the script. I'm just writing them, and sometimes sometimes they're gone. It's like, why did I kill that person? I really liked them, but they had to die. I don't really know. They just the story just called for it. It just kind of happened.
Don't you hate that when we start liking people and then they get cut off?
Yeah, it's gutting, isn't it? Stephen King's books, especially, he's a master at it. You never know who's going to make it through. He'll invest all his time and writing into writing this marvelous character, and then they're gone. The Stand, man, he killed. I had to go back and read the chapter again. He killed this one character in his book, The Stand, and I had to go back and I'm like, what? No, that can't. Some mistake. There's some mistake here. Surely there's a mistake. You can't. And I like that. That's great storytelling, isn't it? That's great storytelling that it's just gone like that because that happens, unfortunately.
And then, you know what that also is great for? I'm offended. He killed off this character.
Absolutely. So then we go on social media and we vent our outrage at Stephen King.
Yep, exactly. And we'll see how far that gets.
He's a great writer. He's a brilliant writer, Stephen King.
I completely agree. So
awesome.
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say to wrap this up is just to I guess one more time is how can we keep up to date with stuff that you're doing and where we can watch Echoes of the Past, stuff like that?
Right, so Echoes of the Past is on YouTube. So Echoes of the Past, you go onto YouTube, look for Echoes of the Past, say it's past being spelled Passed, or you can find them on the Crossroad Pictures YouTube page. You can find Eat Me Out has got a Facebook page, so Eat Me Out on Facebook. That sounds funny in my head. You can find me on Facebook, Tony Sands Official. You can find me on Twitter at Tony Sands at Tony RDB. And I've got a website. You can find my website, which is TonySandsOfficial.com. So please visit there. Try to think what else. And the YouTube, the Eat Me Out of House and Home, the trailer's on YouTube for that. Yeah,
right.
That's it. Yeah, and the trailers obviously on the Facebook page. So when you go to Eat Me Out on Facebook, you'll find the trailer and the poster. And also you'll find any updates as well of what we're doing with the film.
Same with like the upcoming film festivals of where we can watch like.
So so on Twitter you can find the Unrestricted View Horror Festival at UVHFF. That's on Twitter, UVHFF. You'll probably find the link in my bio or on my page for that as well, because I'm always retweeting and pushing out stuff for the links for the festival. If you're a filmmaker and you want to enter into the festival, please submit via Film Freeway, the Unrestricted View Horror Film Festival. We'd love to see your stuff. Love horror films. We love short films. We love feature films. Please put your stuff in there. And yeah, that's at the Hen and Chickens in North London in Islington. I'm trying to think, what else have we got? What else did we talk about? We talked about a lot, Paul. I think not only have we talked about film, I think we've righted the wrongs of the world.
I think so. And speaking of rights of the world, if anybody needs a counselor, like I said, Tony here, he will be the guy to go to tell you, fuck them.
Yeah, please come to me. Please come to me. I just like attention. It's fine.
Well, I think the people like you and I is what make hopefully the world a little bit more of a better place. But even though we have to have that, the I don't give a fuck attitude, but at the same time we look at it as we don't have time for this bullshit.
I think it's a shame. It's a shame. Hopefully it's just a matter of imbalance at the moment, and it will balance itself out eventually.
Yeah.
I think we've got to be positive about it. I think it will find its balance. We go through periods in history like this. Often, unfortunately, the human race keeps making the same mistakes over and over. But hopefully, let's be positive. We will. I'm sure that we will find a balance eventually. That it's a little bit rocky at the moment, and not the good Rocky, not the Sylvester Stallone Rocky, but the bad Rocky. Not the what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Rocky. Exactly. I love Stallone. So, if Stallone wants to be in one of my films, please say hi. But yeah, I think we're going to find balance in the world. I think we're a bit all over the place at the moment, trying to find the right frequency.
Oh yeah,
because we'll go back to voices again. We'll find the right frequency, and that will right it all.
Well, that's about it. I think for me, I really could not think of anything else, even though we could probably talk about the world in like another 2 hours of how stupid it is. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about how you guys should check out Eat Me Out when it comes to film festivals, and then later on when it comes out on, we'll just say YouTube or wherever it comes out on, then we'll all be able to see it when when it's not on the film festival route. Otherwise, if you are in the London area, make sure you go check it out, the film festivals. And then if you want to go to London and check it out, well, then I guess grab your plane ticket and your hotel and go fly over and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and mention Paul's podcast when you get there. We'll do you a discount on a ticket. But come and shake my hand, say hello, and then tell everybody how brilliant we are.
Exactly. Because you know what? Tony is the man. So he's going to be your new counselor. So
you're very kind.
Well, real quick, I guess, is are you familiar with any of your horror people in the UK at all? Like, have you ever heard of After White Comics or what was the other one? I don't remember. But have you ever heard of a comic book publisher called After White Comics?
I'm not familiar with them, no, but some of my colleagues might, some of my friends might be. I can't say I am. Are they friends of yours?
Yeah, they're from Irvine, London, Irvine, UK. Oh crap, I forget.
I'll look them up. Send me a link for them, man, and I'll have a look.
After White Comics with an S at the end.com.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look them up. I can't say I'm familiar with them.
Well, anyway,
I'm always happy to make new friends, though.
Well, that'd be cool because who knows? Maybe you could start working together, wink, wink, and making some comics. Wink, wink.
Well, yeah, put me in touch, man.
I will do that, and I'll send you links and just tell Joey, because that's who runs After White, that you know me, and he might help you out.
That sounds good to me, dude. That sounds good.
But yes, so Tony, once again, thank you for your time.
No, thank you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem. And like I said, when it comes near October, we'll have to figure out another date that works for you, and then we'll talk about Echoes of the Past.
That sounds great.
And then, sounds great. For everybody listening, make sure you check out Tony and everybody else that he has mentioned. And I will hopefully have Tony send me links too, because that was a lot to remember. For links, and I'll put them all in the description. And just for people know, I will put an Eat Me Out, the poster, on the image here, so that way you don't, your mind doesn't go into the gutter like it probably already has anyway.
Get it out the gutter. What's wrong with you people?
What's wrong with you? But we're not talking about that. We're talking about going to a dinner party. So yeah,
that's what it is. Yeah.
Speaking of which, oh god, I got another one for you, another recommendation for you. I don't know if it's going to be over there in the UK, but we'll see if we can try to find it for you. But it's a indie movie called Murder Made Easy.
No, I've not heard that one.
That's like another dinner massacre thing. So yeah,
cool. We like a good dinner massacre.
Yeah, right. I think so too. I mean, I like them.
There's not enough of them in film.
No, and that's what makes it unique. We need to start thinking outside of the box.
Absolutely, man.
I think before I blabber on anymore. Anyway, thank you, Tony, again.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed Tony, and we'll see him when he comes back for Echoes of the Past. And until next time, people. Hopefully you just don't get invited to a massacre of a dinner party, but then again, hopefully you don't get eaten out alive. Until next time, stay scary, everybody.